Derek Sanders, the youngest sheriff ever elected there in Thurston County. Wow, are you in your car? Wow, that's some hot S right there. Look at you, bad boy. Huh? In the car.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Always driving around.
Yeah, that's cool. Wow, I got the tats and everything. Love it. Cool. By the way, I think it sucks we have to have you on. You know what we have to talk to you about? We have to talk to you about the fact you catch bad guys, and then bad guys are back out on the street again. Then you catch bad guys, and bad guys are back on the street again. This is pathetic. And the fact that you actually, quote unquote, went public with it, Brandy Cruz was talking about it, other people talking about it. You basically said, I'll get to your words here in a second. Where do we have him talking about it? You somewhere in here? Yeah. Let's see. You basically said, here it is right here. To the judges who continue.
Got a felony warrant out of Thurston County Sheriff's Office because this is the third time we've pursued this individual in 6 months. So the last time I talked about him, I actually specifically stated that if the judges don't start taking this seriously, that someone's going to get hurt or killed. And here we are, shooting at the police. So maybe they'll take it more serious this time, but I'm not confident. Yeah, it's hard to believe this is going to end peacefully.
You were talking about Damian Madison, the guy that 3 times he has been in pursuit in 6 months. They did catch him down in the border of Nevada and California. They caught him down there somehow. But prior to that, he was driving. You guys tried to pull him over. He's throwing stuff out the car, shooting with an AR at your officers. And then finally, I guess when the cameras caught up with you, you were frustrated at that point, weren't you, Sheriff?
Yeah, I mean, one of my deputies has been shot at 15 times with an AR-15 with a known suspect who we've chased a number of times. He's a violent person. He just got out of prison the first time we chased him 6 months ago. So he didn't waste much time getting back into the life of being a criminal.
Yeah, and so Judge Zip lets him go. I don't know what she said to him or it's hard to track some of this sort of stuff. But for you have the warning that people have to wake up. I saw that Van's Burgers has a sign out front that say, "We deserve better than Judge Zip." Do you sense that the community is starting to come around to these judges that run unopposed, that are not properly serving the people of Thurston County?
Well, I don't want to focus entirely on the judges because this is a system, and they're only one piece of the system. This is a much broader conversation that needs to occur about the greater criminal justice system. There is a lot of validity to the fact that judges have laws to follow. They have rules to follow as well. So I think this is a system of how can law enforcement, prosecutor's office, judges, and the legislatures actually get together and figure this out. A good start of this is that I think we need to get away from cash bail. We need to go to a yes bail or a yes you're in or no you're out. It's one or the other because we know cash bail hurts poor people. What we want to do is keep dangerous people in custody. The issue with that is that it's likely going to take a constitutional amendment, but it can be done. Yeah.
Okay. So other than cash bail, so systems work. Like any system works as you follow. You got a problem with your car, it's not starting correctly. Is it the battery? Is it the starter? You're working all the way down the line of the system. So cash bail is part of it. What other part of the system, Sheriff, do you see that needs to be adjusted or is faulty?
Well, probably community custody with Department of Corrections. This isn't a criticism, but we've got to figure out a better way to do this. When we get in pursuits, I can almost guarantee the person is under some sort of supervision with Department of Corrections. They just got out of prison. They're already convicted felons. They've already committed a number of these crimes. Damien's a perfect example of this. He's kind of the poster boy of, how many times we're going to continue to give these people chances. If you're out on community custody and you're already back in a stolen car, fleeing from the police with a handgun, back to prison. We'll just sit you there until you're ready to go back to trial.
Right. So there they would sit, they go before the judge, either bail or the judge, slap on the wrist. Hey, don't forget to come back. To me, if somebody is trying to outrun a police officer, they're not going to walk into a courtroom. It doesn't make sense.
Very rare. Very rare. And I know that, the data is important to keep track of as well, because you'll hear a lot of talk about, we show a high compliance rate for a lot of these individuals. And I said, the issue though is that it's not comparable to the crime rate though, because if you're showing a bunch of high compliance rates for the people that have committed a bunch of crimes in your community, but then crime is continuing to go up for property crime and things like that, then we have to assume on a logical level that we're not catching them is the issue. So That's a whole other aspect of this whole thing, and it's a big reason why I push to have the pursuit laws changed, is that, we can't sit here, we're sitting here and boasting that the people that we do come in contact with have a high, return to court rate and things like that, yet the crime rate's exploding. And we're really supposed to believe that none of those individuals are committing more crimes, yet every time we catch one of them, they're one of these individuals who would be part of that statistic. So there's just a lot of things in there that I think we can't just look at one data point and say, oh, things are fine.
Speaking of data points, I just looked at prison population in the state of Washington. So I got in 2018, there were 18,034 in prison, right? So I looked at that number, and now it's 13,714. That number is in 2024. But then if you look at crimes committed, so violent crime, homicide, assault, robbery, car theft, property crime, every single one of those numbers have gone up since 2018. But the number of people in prison has gone down. So you're seeing repeat offenders all the time. They're obviously somewhere along you call it the system. I think the biggest problem is you have, and you don't have to say this because I know you have to work with these people, you have activist judges that run unopposed, that get in place, and no one makes them accountable because they don't run against anyone. So they say, well, your mother didn't breastfeed you, or you didn't do well in art class when you were in second grade, and we pat pity on you because you've got all sorts of problems. So I'm going to show you mercy because the system somehow has failed you. I don't want to fail you. So here's an ankle bracelet, by the way, don't cut it off or you might have to be found again. So that's my little diatribe. I'll ask you this. What does it do to the morale of your staff when they see the repeat offenders, especially when they see the repeat offenders on the other side of an AR-15 firing rounds at their car?
Well, it does two things. I think people get extremely upset knowing who is shooting at the car, and all the times and all the high levels of effort that have gone into capturing this individual safely, mind you, without killing anybody else on our roads as well. But then also, it's also a point where I saw a lot of brotherhood after that. There was a sense of like, all the extra noise doesn't matter right now. The contract negotiations don't matter. All these other things don't matter right now. We're going to go get our guy. So I also saw a lot of bonding coming together to make sure that we put forward a good case on this. And, just to comment, I think you're onto something there with the whole decrease in prison population. At the same time, we have rising crime rates. And that was also around the same time that the legislators said, don't chase cars anymore. So you create this perfect swirl around of it's a really great environment that creates kind of that culture of let's commit crime. And I would also say, just to caveat all of this, I have a deep found respect for our judges. I genuinely do. I think they have a hard job, and a lot of their job is to look into the future and make a best guess. And actually, that's where a lot of my frustration comes from, is like I see the way that criminals look at our court system, and they think it's a complete joke. Yeah. And I hate that. I hate that because the rule of law matters to me. I want it to matter. I want the word of our judges to be serious. I wish we lived in a world where when a judge told someone do not commit new crimes, they were like, oh my gosh, like I should not commit new crimes. Like the judge just ordered me not to. But the reality is on the streets where the rubber is meeting the road, they're laughing. And I hate that. I cannot stand it. It's actually, people probably think I hate our judges, and it's the exact opposite. I have a lot of respect for them, and I want to make sure I'm doing everything on my end in my actual work product to make sure that what they order is followed, that those warrants are served, that those people who are told not to commit new crimes aren't committing new crimes. That's where I get frustrated with it all, right? It feels so disrespectful on that side of things, and I want it to have more teeth. Before
you were elected as the sheriff there, you were on the beat, and you said when you did get elected, listen, I'm not going to be a guy sitting in a building. I'm going to be out on the street. That's why you're talking to us from your car. You're probably out on patrol as well or helping others, assisting with arrests. You put the handcuffs on them. You put them in the back of the car. You get a chance as you're driving them. You know there's some experience. They'll say to you, I don't know why you're bothering doing this, man, because I'm going to be out in an hour or I'm going to be out in 2 hours, right? Don't you hear that all the time?
Every day. They'll ask. The biggest question I get all the time, and it's from the last time was with a 25-time convicted felon after a car chase. And he said, When's the cutoff for booking to get seen tomorrow? Because I have plans.
There it is, right? And you possibly lose your life in the pursuit, or someone else loses their life while this guy's running away, and then he has plans the next day. And at this point, you have to say to yourself, the whole thing's a joke. It's all a joke. He's taking it as a joke, right? And you're like, well, you're just going through the motions. I'm taking you in. I'll let you know when the booking is, right? At a certain point, you'd be like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, I really want to see a major reform. I think this is the kind of reform where legislatively and from the bench and from law enforcement too, we have a part to play in this. Make no mistake, right? I mean, when law enforcement writes a crappy report that can't survive a trial, we also have a part to play in this. So there's a big piece for everyone to take out of. But I think there's a way forward where we reform the bail system, where we eliminate the thought where poor people can't bail out and rich people can do whatever they want. That's not fair either. And I think that there's just a part forward where there's enough energy in our entire state, to be quite frank, of like, is this really the best that we have to offer? Mm-hmm. We can't do better. We can't figure this out. I'm hoping that we can spur up some energy behind this because, it's not hard for me. I said what I said. Oh, someone's going to get hurt, but that's not hard to predict. Yeah. It's not hard to predict. It's not like I'm out here genie in a bottle telling you what the future is. It's really not hard to predict. We have a 10-time felon who's escalating, who's armed. Of course it's going to get worse. Of course he's going to hurt someone if we can't get him in custody and keep him there. So, yeah, there's a large part of this. And I will say, Thurston County judges here are doing a good job in trying to speed up time to trial. That's a huge piece of this. It's not as big of a deal what happens in the preliminary appearance if your time to trial is fast. Right. We don't. If I book you for a looting today, but you're going to have trial in 4 weeks, that shortens the time frame where we're concerned about what you're going to do in that 4-week period. And it's also good for the defendant because they're not sitting under the scope of this case. If they're going to be, let's say the jury finds them innocent, they want that over quick. I would. Yeah. So
we're speaking with Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders, who on camera mentioned that we need to be more accountable. We need to make sure judges, your comment regarding someone's going to get hurt if we don't hold these people accountable. Walk us through the system. I'm sorry for my ignorance on this. So I know how bail works. So what is your suggestion? You get the guy, you bring him in. Walk me through that process in the remaining time we have.
Of what I want to see happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we contact someone, we arrest them. Let's say that they're a convicted felon. They're on active community custody through DOC. We arrested them for, let's say, a looting in a stolen vehicle. We would bring them forward and, make no mistake, a lot of these people don't have money. So money is really not a fair way to judge whether or not someone belongs in jail pre-conviction. That's not a good way to judge it. It should be risk factors. It should be the fact they have prior history of doing the same thing. It should be the fact that they are a risk to commit another violent offense based on their history in the new charge. And at that point in time, a judge, instead of trying to determine what bail amount to set, because it's always kind of this weird thing, just says you're a danger to the public and you need to be held, or you can be released under these conditions. And then they could go down the EHM, supervision, additional supervision efforts, those kinds of things. But getting the money side out of it and really just evaluating people based on their actions and what they're doing. And at that point in time, you would have an escalating factor. Like, we just cannot allow this to occur. Like, it is so demoralizing to the public to read that someone's been arrested 4 times in 6 months for felony crimes. At some point in time, we need intervention. Not only, I know there's a liberty piece to this and that it's presumed innocent, but my warning is also for the suspect. They're going to kill themselves in a car chase. They're going to rob the wrong house and get shot to death. And I don't think it's humane to say, oh, well, your liberty is more important than anything else. So as a result of all this, we're just going to let you keep going until you die. I don't think there's anything humane about that either. So that would be my intervention in the preliminary process, is just the ability to give the judges the ability to just say, this person is too dangerous to be let out right now. We're going to hold them in jail and order mental health treatment or drug treatment or AA or anger management, whatever it ends up needing to be.
And explain how your scenario would work if it's a juvenile. Now, let's say this person is now 19 or 20 years old and they have an extensive juvenile record. Does the judge consider those past choices when it comes to whether or not that person can be let go and then expected that person to come back again?
Oh, you have to. You have to. and I won't name them, but I've talked to judges who have said the same thing. We've had these conversations about, like, should juvenile criminal history count? And I think if you see the things that some juveniles are doing these days, you have to count that. I'm looking at stories up in Seattle about, trying to disembowel a juvenile after tying him up in a tree, right? Like, you have to consider those things if they're continuing down that path, heading into their adulthood.
You're a young guy. How old are you?
I am 31.
Are things getting more dangerous on the streets? You've been in it for a while.
Say. I think that it's really hard to gauge. I do think that we're seeing an increase in desperation. And I think that there's some socioeconomic factors in that, right? Everyone's feeling the squeeze. Everyone wants to perform. I don't care if you're the poorest person in the world with nothing or the richest person. We all want to perform in our lives to some degree. And I think that pressure to constantly provide for ourselves and other people is kind of crashing down on people. So I do have compassion for that. However, that desperation is turning into some of these high-speed chases over shoplifting. Yeah. You used to never see that. You would never see a high-speed chase for shoplifting. People would pull over and be like, you got me, right? And we'd have that more, non-confrontational conversation with people and try to help them and try to work with them a little bit. Yeah. And, I do think you're seeing a higher degree of desperation, and it'll be interesting to see when the WASPIC crime report comes out here at the end of the month.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll let you back to work. Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on and continue the pressure. And by the way, it is the Van's Burgers out there that's got the big sign. So swing on by, get yourself a burger. Thank you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.